But I think
Yes.
Jinx is a great name, by the way. It's perfect for her. Is the dark manifestation of randomness, which is what she embodies. Remember, in the beginning, she's the one who accidentally knocks over the blue crystal that explodes.
That's
It creates
true.
chaos,
Right.
but it was an
Yeah.
accident. You know, when she's cornered by that guy, what does she do with that bag of treasure? She throws it in the river. You know, she doesn't try to escape, which I thought of Moses's mother. She puts Moses in the river. A lot of heroines trust the chaos of nature as a potential like neutral helping force. Even Ripley, when she's fighting the Queen Alien, she unleashes the vacuum of space to create chaos, which is helpful. Certain heroines trust in randomness in a certain way, and Powder does this all the time. I think when she is abandoned by her sister,
Or she thinks she's abandoned.
well, exactly. But when that rift begins, when that pain is created, that wound, that trauma, the randomness of her, which is the way she expresses herself, and it expressed as like accident prone as Powder, becomes the darkest version of it possible, which is chaos, an agent of chaos. And by the way, I've seen several efforts to make these chaotic women characters like Harley Quinn and stuff. Jinx gets it right, and I think Jinx gets it right because she's not doing it to sensationalize chaotic behavior, and they're not doing it to make it entertaining. They really tie in the mental trauma of where it's coming from, and it makes it feel unresolved. And I think that's why we can relate to her. It's not entertaining. It seems tragic every time she's going through this thing. It's not sensationalized.
Yeah, that's another thing which I'll come back to again later. That is very much a decision of the show, because there are some slight differences in like the character designs in the game as opposed to in the show that as all the ones I've noticed are by far improvements from a storytelling perspective. And that's one of them. Like Jinx is a little bit more of a cliche, that kind of an archetype. She feels a little, and she's also a little bit more like sexualized. And in this case, in the show, she's like, it's not like you have the manic pixie dream girl with blue hair cliche. Here it's like she seems like she's that archetype, but she's genuinely like troubled. Like she genuinely needs help, and they changed her design to make her, she's a little bit more youthful, and she's less, so she's not like sexual. Like she's still just barely, not a kid. She's basically still a kid. And I just thought all those were good improvements that fit the storytelling.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm looking at it from the opposite lens. So I found the game after, I looked it up, and like you, I would see like Jinx, and I'm like, oh, that's not Jinx. Like that, that seems like such a downgrade.
That was just a character that was created for people to play in a game. That wasn't, and then they're like, let's make an actual character, and then all of a sudden you approach it differently.
Well, and what's amazing, I think you're right. She's not really sexualized in the show. And what's interesting is even the way
she dresses super immodestly, but it's not sexual. It's just like just like her being free.
That's that's what I'm saying. Is
like wild, I guess, is the word.
Yeah, like her pants are low. You see a lot of skin and body, and she's moving, and she,
They also made her a little more, like, not to get like super into detail about her body, but she's a little more flat chested, which I think helped with that too. And like she has all these long braids, which are super impractical and dangerous to fight in. But that's just part of her chaos, of her just being free in her own way, I suppose.
So all I'm saying is, and you're probably right, I honestly I think that the writing is so good that even if she wasn't flat chested, I would still identify with her character as not being overtly sexualized, because that's just not what was on my mind watching her character. It just wasn't. And it never got that way, which just speaks volumes to the power of writing behind the characterization of Powder / Jinx.
Yeah.
I think this is fascinating. We're going to have to get to this. Sable says, the core question is never explicitly asked in the show proper. One character makes a statement that directly ties to it, though. We're going to have to figure out what that is. There's a lot of stuff going on in the comments.
Yeah, see, what is it that Sable said after that?
So Sable's trying to figure out what he thinks the core theme is.
Okay, I think so, yeah.
I'll give you my theory. I'll give you my theory based on what you're saying that I think ties it together. This is just my theory. Again, I haven't thought this through the way I did like other things, but if Jinx, or if Powder's sacred fire is the love of her sister, and if I'm right about this, and if Vi's sacred fire is the revolution, then by default, Powder supports that and wants to make that happen. So I think any desire for total freedom on Powder's part is tied to the desire for revolution of her older sister. That's what I think. That's what I think that through line might be.
Oh, you think she's going to make it manifest?
Right.
Because
she loves her sister and wants her sister to make it happen. And so she wants freedom in the sense that that's what her sister is after, and she'll help to make it happen. What's the final shot of the show? It's Jinx firing the gemstone.
Right.
James for $5. James for a $5 super chat says, "Oh, this is killing Sable and I. We're typing in both
you guys.
chats and we're messaging back and forth in Discord." Oh, really? Oh, there's stuff going on.
And in both YouTube channels, guys. Why are you doing this?
Yeah, I actually predicted there was going to be a bottleneck, that the guys had so much to say in the chat that they would bottleneck because they couldn't type fast enough as our conversation moved past the topic or something, and it was going to drive them nuts. So I see that we are succeeding at driving them nuts. So.
I want to bring in another.
If Jinx didn't say, but you changed too at the Mad Tea Party.
Yeah, I want to talk about that. Okay. Because there's a related theme, which is love and how these two characters define love, and everything I'm about to say is not my own idea. I think this was that same YouTuber I mentioned earlier. I think it was his video. If not, it was someone else's. That one way you can look at it is that these two girls are defining love differently. So for Vi, love is, if you love someone, then you're going to want them to be their best self. And you see that like throughout the way that she interacts with, all the younger kids, like, in the beginning, there's a sense of like, she's kind of like she's a big sister, she mentors, she helps, she's like, she shows Echo how to throw a punch, and she's trying to help them be their best selves and encourage them, and all this stuff. While what Powder feels like, what love is being accepted exactly the way you are right now. So it's like, I want to, and that's what she wants when she's older. She wants to be accepted exactly as she is.
Unconditional love, yeah.
Right. And that's to her what love means, is you accept who I am now. Whereas Vi is saying, yes, I love you. And because I love you, I want you to be better. Not because it's not a rejection of you as a person. It's me wanting you to be your best self. Right. But that's not what Silco gives. Silco gives the kind of love that
unconditional
that she wants, which is just, you're perfect.
Yes.
Exactly as you are. And so that there's a mysterious line at the end, which I think makes sense with this understanding, when she says, I thought you would love me. I thought maybe you would love me the way you used to, but you've changed too. So you're to us. So she's saying, it's like, I thought you were going to just accept the new person that I am, but like, you're not able to do that.
Well, I think the new Vi is more willing to accept, but I feel like the old Vi is the one that is the problem, because she basically said,
that's
I love you.
Perception, but by the way, that's just, she thinks that she's not being accepting her. But anyway, yeah.
Right. Well, and there's external complications in where these people are in their lives. But you're right. But also, old Vi, basically his message was, I love you, but you're a liability, and I can't accept you because of that. That essentially was the message that Powder took. And Silco, it basically said, I love you no matter what. And he's so consistent with this. It's beautiful. Even though he's supposed to be the bad guy. And Vi, I think what she means when she's like, you've changed too, is Vi in the opening heist is reckless enough that Vander has to give her that message of, hey, are you willing to, get these people killed? You need to act responsibly. I think that's the change. Vi becomes more like Vander in that she tries to be more responsible for everybody. And while she's trying to be more responsible, here comes Powder, boom, kills them. So that conflicted with her sense of responsibility, and that's why she's like, Powder, you're out. I can't protect people with you around. I can't do it.
Which was the worst moment, in my opinion. Like, that was that when I first watched it, that shocked me. She like hit her sister. I was like, what? Like that was by far the lowest point that she was at, and consequences came from that. But you also,
she thought she'd done so well,
right? But it's so great that the show makes you understand each character. That even for her to do something like hit her sister, you still understand why she did that. Like, you understand that you don't agree with that, with how she handled that moment, but it's like, she's under a lot of stress at that moment. You're like, you understand. And I feel like you feel that way for every character, including all the villains. Like you understand why they're doing what they're doing. They're all just treated with that level of like humanity, which is really.
Sable has revealed the question. So
as far as I saw the second.
So Sable says the question is, can a monster be saved?
Oof.
Sable Phoenix says, Silco says there's a monster inside all of us. One way or another, every character has a monster. They may deny it, run from it, embrace it. But other than Caitlin, I was wondering about that one. Everyone has some aspect of their behavior which could be considered monstrous.
That's a great point. Everyone does have that.
I still don't know that if I agree that that's the central question, but I do think that is one of them.
Well, let me say this. It's an incomplete story. We've only seen one season.
Yeah.
The story
talking about the story of the first season, which is, it has an arc.
Right. So, like I saw that one video that you guys saw, and it was a great video. It was comparing Lord of the Rings to Arcane, and I thought to myself, that's like just comparing Fellowship of the Ring to War and Peace. You haven't heard to the Two Towers or Return of the King yet. Mm-hmm. We've only seen this first season, and it's so thorough and so rich that it feels like a complete work of art already. Mm-hmm. And in some ways it is, but the story's not done yet. So Kate, I would love to see Kate develop her monster, whatever that is. But I think Sable does have a good point that we are watching several characters turn into monsters at varying stages. Mm-hmm. Jace, Victor, even that guy that Victor finds in the caves with that like How to Train Your Dragon thing. That goes from like, oh wow, that's so cute, he's doing such a good thing for this animal, to keeping it alive in that that display case or glass.
Yeah.
So, I mean, these are monstrous things.
So let's finish it off by Sable is saying that he does disagree, that it seems that this is in the context of the story. The answer is no, monsters cannot be saved. It's a Greek tragedy. Mel says we can't change what fate has in store for us, but we don't have to face it alone. Whether or not the answer is objectively true, the narrative is offering us the answer, no, monsters cannot be saved. They're destined for destruction. I'm going to think a lot about that.
I think you're right that that's one of the questions. I still just can't. I don't see that unifies everything.
I'm still thinking about
ones. I think the class struggles feel deeper, and the questions around that and around change to me seem like those are like more core to the story.
What do you do when you're wronged?
Yeah.
Well, Sable's pointing out that all of these characters are doing something.
But these are all part of it.
Yeah.
Hello, Stray.
Oh yeah, awesome. What's up, Stray?
Brianna.
I think he's doing it just to annoy me at this point.
Yeah, I do think the story is incomplete, meaning it's self-contained in its own way, which is perfect for a season one. The same way A New Hope is self-contained in its own way. However, without Empire Strikes Back, without Return of the Jedi, it'd be very hard to analyze Luke's full character arc, what it meant. We never saw him lose a hand in, A New Hope. Like, there's a lot of things that didn't. There's a lot of major hero's journey archetypal designs that did not take place in A New Hope. They took place later in Return of the Jedi and Empire Strikes Back. So what I'm saying is, I agree with you in the sense that this is a self-contained season, in that you could pull a lot out of it, and there's a lot of satisfying elements. But man, there's a lot of unanswered questions and a lot of incomplete arcs. Jace, Victor, Jinx, Vi, they're not reconciled yet. What's going to happen now that the council, it's there's going to be a war between Piltover and Zahn. I mean, there's a lot on deck.